cutaway. Same with the rears. It'll either make the car handle flatter if the bottoms are out, or it'll make it a little bit more aggressive. And just by changing those things, like, it's fairly simple to do. You can probably have one battery pack, go through a couple different combinations, and pretty much get it there. And then the other two you might mess around with will be sway bars, and make sure that your Ackerman suits the track conditions, whether it's low grip or high grip. Go with either more or less Ackerman. And with those settings, just like the 3 or 4 different ones I mentioned here, like I said, your car would be within half a second potential of what the fast cars are showing. So next, if you have more time, then I would start getting into some of the other things that I mentioned earlier, such as wheelbase, roll centers, spring shocks. The one I hadn't mentioned yet is camber rise. So the other thing that we're doing up here, when we change this roll center here, is we're also changing camber rise. So the more of an angle you have on your top link, the more of a camber rise you'll have. So let's say if these were parallel, you would have minimum camber rise. So you start leaning the car over, and you would end up transitioning from using a full contact patch to just using the outside edge, because the car would lean over. And so by having more camber rise, by having this link more angled, you are able to keep the contact patch on the ground, because as the wheel rolls, it'll stay square as opposed to getting on the outside edge. And so if you do that, if you lower it, you're raising the roll center slightly, but you're also keeping that contact patch flat. And you can gain a bit of mid-corner traction that way. You find that it's fine getting into the corner, and then it just needs to wash out. Consider doing that in the back end. Or the front end, if the front end's washing out. Try and put in a bit more camber rise, you'll probably notice a bit of a change. And then some of the finer adjustments that you can do once your car is pretty much there. I would probably resort to last would be slight droop changes, track width. The top shock positions, I find they make some difference, but that'd be a fine-tuning type of change. You can also change spring rates in terms of how progressive they are. So you can get springs that are linear versus more progressive, and it'll make your car either lean more through the corners or the corner a little bit flatter, perhaps give you more traction with the more progressive springs. Something to play with. Camber, I kind of keep even at around 1.5 to 2 degrees, because the Jayco Blue tires that we use are actually tapered to about 1.5 degrees. The inside of the Jayco Blue is smaller, the wheel, the mounting wheel diameter, than the outside. So if you wanted to run it flat, you'd run it about 1.5 degrees. The other one, I had somebody come and ask me about, their car was all over the place. And they asked me about anti-dive and anti-squat. And that is a fine-tuning adjustment that you might do when your car is pretty much there. So definitely don't start off with that one. And that's pretty much my whole sheet of the different setups. Definitely some of the basics I hadn't mentioned in terms of, having the car in good working condition, no slop. One of the things I look for when I'm thinking that a shock, that a hinge pin might be bent, or there might be something wrong with the car, after I tweak it, make sure that it's actually balanced properly, is when I'm starting out the race. I'll do a warm-up lap, and I'll get on the throttle and on the brakes, and on, off, just to see if the car is twitching side to side. Because if it's balanced, and it's set up properly, and it's tracking straight, then as you're going on, off, it should be going in a straight line. If you find that it's starting to drift to one side or the other, then there's something wrong with the car. It's either tweaked, or there's something bent and binding. So definitely, that's one of the things I always try and look for. if I try just about everything and it's still doing that, it's I just rebuild the car, take it all apart, and redo it, because it does make a difference when you're trying to get right on the edge on a race lap, and it's not consistent. Any specific questions around tuning? Probably a couple.
For your camber links, when would you go more to the outside and more to the inside?
The longer you make your camber links, the smoother your car is going to feel. The shorter they are, it's going to feel twitchier.
Let's say you keep the same length. And the rear hub, you got 2 adjustment holes, and most shock towers have 2 adjustment holes. Keep the same length, when would you go outside versus inside?
I found that the outside hole on the hub on just about any car, like the X-Ray with the Cyclone, people don't use very much for rubber tires. Most of them stick to a longer length, so they just kind of move the link inside. And the outside setting is mostly for foam tires. So what you'll find is if you're just moving the outside piece, regardless of where you have the inside, is that on the outside hole you're going to get a little bit more initial traction, but then mid-corner and corner exit, you're not going to get as much traction. So that's usually what you want out of a foam tire. But rubber tire, you want exactly the opposite. You want smoother turn in, and then probably more traction on mid and exit.
When you're talking about changing the camber gain,
Yes.
I understood what you were saying. Is there a way to change the camber gain without messing with your roll center? Because the way you described it, you change your roll center.
You do, and it depends on which one takes over the other one. So on my car, when I lower the rear, essentially raise the rear roll center by lowering the link, I find a bigger difference in the camber gain than the roll center change. And also, if you change the roll center at the top here, and you change it by, say, 1/2 mil, space it up or down, or move it into the shock tower hole, it makes a smaller difference than if you do the same amount down here. So if you move the bottom link up 1/2 mil, it's going to make a bigger difference than if you want more of a fine adjustment up here.
So adjust the bottom link for roll center and the top link for camber gain is kind of what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, if you adjust the bottom link for roll center, it's going to be a more drastic roll center adjustment. Well, like I said, definitely pick up some of the tuning guides if you haven't yet. Have a good read through them. It's a lot of good information. What I can do is to try and post some of my notes somewhere on our net as well.
Thanks very much.